What's going on, guys? Kenny here from 619 Guitars and Gear, and I'm going to welcome you back to part 2 of the LTD project series. It's definitely been a little while. We've been doing a bunch of guitar reviews, and yeah, we're ready to jump back into this thing. We're going to get a few things done in this video and just get a couple steps closer to this guitar being done. So basically started with getting the old finish sanded off of the neck just to get it prepped for whichever route I decide to go, whether it's a stain finish or a painted finish. Obviously, if it's stain, we're going to do an oil finish, and if it's paint, we're going to use like a matte poly finish because I hate gloss necks, so it's definitely going to be one of the two. Then we moved on to filling the screw holes for the existing pickup rings. I have always been a bigger fan of direct mounted pickups, so being that we're going to get rid of the pickup rings, we had to fill in the holes. So I decided to fill them with CA glue and stick some little small wooden dowels that were pretty much like toothpicks down in there, and yeah, it worked out really good. Once we filled it in, I let them dry, and then I was able to get a file and file them down pretty flush. And then after I filed them, I got a razor blade and kind of, just cut them and shave them to where it was perfectly flush. I had to go back a few times after sanding them by hand and with the machine. I just kept feeling them with my, feeling them with my finger, and if I could feel it, I would either sand a little more or, fill in a couple drops of some more glue, just until I couldn't feel that at all, and it basically felt like the rest of the body, but it worked out really, really good. And yeah, and then we moved on to something pretty big of a decision I made. We're gonna make this thing like a metal machine, and something really good for just some hard chugging riffs, and for that we really don't need a neck pickup, so I decided let's go ahead and fill that thing in. A lot of people like to use Bondo or whatever to fill in their neck pickups. I didn't want to go that direction because it, eventually could crack or whatever. So I decided let's fill it in with some wood. I did 2 layers of these little pieces of wood that I have, and just cut them to shape. And yeah, it was a nice tight fit. So we used a lot of glue, so nothing moved. I left a little bit of tolerance room that way, I didn't want it too tight because then it would squeeze out all the glue and it wouldn't be as good as a Bond. So, once we let the glue dry for a while, I scraped all the excess glue off, whatever I couldn't wipe off before it dried. And then, yeah, we sanded and sanded, and I used a lot of CA glue to fill in, just flooded the gaps with CA glue to fill in, whatever little holes and little crevices were there, and that worked out really good. I was really surprised, actually. So we just kept, basically it was a lot of sanding, just a lot of sanding and a lot of going back. You could see here it's still a little rough, but you can get an idea of where I had to fill in with the glue. But it was a lot of sanding, a lot of going back and forth, and sanding by hand, sanding with the machine, kind of, taking some black paint as like a guide coat just to see where we had to fill in more, and, just sand, and then fill in with more glue. And you can see here, we put a little bit of a black guide coat on there just to help us see where we're at. And yeah, we were making a lot of good progress. Basically, after this point, I filled in, took some sanding sealer and did a coat of sanding sealer just to kind of do an overall flat coat over the whole thing. And that stuff's, really pretty tough stuff. So once it dries, it's nice, and it's pretty strong, so it's pretty durable. And I'm actually curious to know what it would be like as a finish. I like this whole clip here. You can watch it dry, and it's actually a pretty cool thing to watch. But we basically got that on there and got it sanded, and it was just basically a game of scraping, sanding, patching it with some more glue, and spraying some more black on there as like a guide coat just to really see where we were at. And basically it was just a repeat process. Probably did it about 5 or 6 times and finally got it good enough to where it was flat enough to where I was happy. And yeah, you can see here it's filled in. You can not even actually tell that there was a neck pickup there, which I'm happy about. You can see it's definitely still a little rough, so we do have to obviously sand it down perfectly smooth, and then we're going to put a nice coat of primer filler on there, sand that down, and I think I want to do like a really cool paint job on this thing. But that's it for this video. Stay tuned for part 3 where we're going to get the neck done. We're going to get some paint on the body. But until then, as always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.